EFL, Scottish Premiership and much more. Live on Sky Sports.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play for my country again.
Do it then. What about your start to the game?
It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
Now then, football show coming at you. Dion Fanning of The Currency here in studio again. Hello, I've seen lots of you.
You have, Joe.
Sunday paper review, and now here we are again. So England have topped their group, very convincing 3-0 winners against Wales this evening. There were 2 goals from Marcus Rashford, who is joint top scorer now at the tournament. 2 goals from Marcus Rashford. Phil Foden, who started. Gareth Southgate warned that he was becoming a fixation around the English team of late, but Phil Foden did start nonetheless, scored a goal. And so 3-0 win. And then the USA beat Iran 1-0. So it's England and the US who go through from Group B. Earlier on today, Netherlands 2-0 winners against Qatar. They were well and truly put out of their misery. And Senegal 2-1 winners against Ecuador. So Netherlands will play USA. And I need to double check. I was about to say presumably England will play Senegal.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So there we are. I didn't really get to see much of this game outside of one corner of one eye. I was live on the air. I must say, anytime I glanced up, England were in control of either the ball or creating a chance or having a touch in the Welsh box. I think in the first half, England had 16, 17 touches in the Welsh box. Wales had none. So 3-0, a fairly good reflection of the game, even though it wasn't 0-0 at half-time.
Yeah, at half-time, you couldn't say Wales were in it, but you could say that maybe England weren't. You looking at it then and thinking on the back of the USA result performance, is there something to be worried about for England or to be concerned about for England? And then they came out in the second half and just got the goals that they really did deserve.
Rashford free kick the first.
Yeah, now. Ward in obviously Hennessy was sent off against Iran, and Ward was really probably should have done better for at least 2 of them.
Okay.
Certainly I think that free kick he should have done better.
As Kieran Trippier said, and it was, it's like a hot cup of milk. It was very comforting to have talk about the ball being too light at a major tournament again. So he was saying the ball is a touch too light as one explanation as to why we haven't had free kicks at this World Cup. And he was saying just you get the sense that if you really put a lot of power into it, the ball is liable to fly away, he said. And then he added, it's completely up to us to get to grips with it. It's not a big problem. It's just, we're training with it every day. We should be doing better with it. So it's on us. But he did say the ball is different. So there is that. But Rashford obviously got the knack.
No, he did. And no, they took their chance as well. And and Foden scored, obviously.
Harry Kane assist.
And I think it's but I think Wales were really, really poor. It does feel like it's a great achievement for them to get to the World Cup, but it's interesting that Bale went off. I don't know at half time, I don't know whether that was an injury or what, but he had done nothing in the first half. He picked everyone. He picked Ramsey. He picked who has done nothing in the tournament. And again, it maybe is that sense of a swan song for these players.
I just feel the golden generation is done.
And now Bale was asked if this could be his last game for Wales, and he said no. But I think there is that sense with this team now that they've had their the players that drove them to these tournaments have reached the end now, and that was very, very clear in this match.
We were reading Wayne Rooney's column in the Sunday Times at the weekend for the Sunday paper review, and it's interesting in that he was saying that he thought Mount should come out, that Rice should have a defensive partner with him. He said Henderson or Phillips, doesn't matter overly in this instance this evening. It was Henderson alongside Rice. Bellingham should play in that midfield position just ahead of Rice and Henderson. Mount come out. That would allow, he said Rice is much better with a defensive partner. That would allow the likes of Walker and Shaw this evening to push on. And it looks like Gareth Southgate did that, which is kind of interesting. And then, of course, Rashford and Foden started alongside Kane. Saka out, Sterling out. And both scored. So Rashford scored twice. Foden comes on, scores, or starts and scores. And I just had a quick listen to the BBC panel at full time there. Shearer and Williams and Ian Rush, by the way, is back in a big way. My goodness, when did this? I didn't get the memo about Ian Rush.
I think they felt again. I think we did. We can't keep referring to what we talked about on Sunday, but we did mention that there is this. I think they needed to feel they had two Welsh people on the panel.
It's like John Hartson, disgusted this evening, I'd say, and Rio Ferdinand there as well. And it was interesting. Shearer was making the point: England, so much choice. They're getting a bit excited. England, so much choice. I mean, so many players in form, etc. And my thought was, slightly negative thought, this is really bad for Gareth Southgate. There is a paradox of choice aspect here. It now means, unless England win the World Cup, that regardless of what choices Southgate makes, there will be a real sense that there was a better combination available. And if a better manager had made different decisions, more could have been unlocked. And it doesn't even matter if Southgate does the right thing or the wrong thing. There'll be a strong argument. You took out Sterling, you took out Saka, you put in Foden. Saka was very good. Would have worked. Why did you listen to the media, or why didn't you listen to the media? So
yeah,
it's going to be. I think already, if I'm Southgate, I'd be thinking, I'm screwed here.
Well, you see, I think, but I think there's some. You look at England's form going into the World Cup and the way they've approached matches, and also the fact of how they lost the final of the Euros, and they were so negative in that game, and that is why there is this sort of bubbling discontent with Southgate. Now they look like they should get they should beat Senegal, should be in a quarter final, and then we'll see. But I think there is a kind of reason for some of the frustration, yet there's something about the way it has been framed around Foden in this instance that seems almost kind of like they're doing it by numbers.
It's a gross oversimplification.
But Foden is an exceptional player. It's a strange thing because everything that everyone's saying about Foden is correct.
True, yeah. Southgate said in the media today, the back pages of various papers, this is becoming a fixation.
Yeah, it is. I think that's it, and it's just because it becomes very simplified, but at the same time, it is also true. Two things simultaneously.
Yeah.
Like, it is a simplification, but actually Foden is the best of all of them, in my view. And I think there are certain arguments used by Southgate which really don't have merit in terms of international football. Like, he uses the example in Manchester City, where he plays wide. De Bruyne has said that. Guardiola has said that that's where it suits him better now. There's a kind of a sense at Manchester City that the elements that are needed to play centrally aren't there yet. I don't think that matters as much in international football.
I don't fully buy it either. I mean,
no,
why wouldn't De Bruyne say it, and why wouldn't Guardiola say it? Phil Foden strikes me as one of the most adaptable footballers I can think of.
But if there are weaknesses in his game, they're much more likely to be exposed in the Premier League than they are against Wales or Senegal. Let's be honest.
What are these weaknesses?
Well, maybe he switches off occasionally. He doesn't do some of the things that is required if you're playing centrally. But I don't think they're hugely important. But equally, Foden, it's not a question of like get Foden in. Foden not being central to it tells you a lot about Gareth Southgate. As does, to a different degree, the Trent Alexander-Arnold debate. Now, Trent Alexander-Arnold,
that's justifiable, actually.
Well, he's made so many defensive lapses that that he doesn't have much of a case in that point of view. But at the same time,
Champions League final with the perfect encapsulation of those types of games, high level opposition. A mistake like that is
but
fatal.
even when England was struggling against USA, it was kind of now it does point to all those mistakes having kind of erased them from people's memories, but it was kind of strange that he still wasn't mentioned much as one of the players they should be sending for in those situations. Now, he came on in this game, but he's an exceptionally talented player too. But Foden is really the player I think you should be looking at and going, why? What wrong turn have you taken?
And let's dig in. So take the switching off point, which would be like a common thing that would be said about a player of Foden's type. There is not a better, more tuned in presser in the Premier League than Phil Foden. He has never not sprinted to an opposition player. He is never not thinking in those terms. So the switching off point, I don't buy it. I genuinely can't imagine a position Phil Foden wouldn't be brilliant in, bar maybe centre half.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I think there is probably a thing like Manchester City have a feeling that whatever way their team is structured, he is better coming from a wide position, and that's how they've done it. I think that those reasons that they have for in the Premier League or Champions League are really diminished in a lot of international football matches, because it doesn't, you're not going to be punished the way you would be there.
I also don't see, so Sterling or Saka, they're playing in the position Phil Foden plays for Man City. He just should be in ahead of them.
Yeah.
Would Man City look at Sterling and say, I wish he was back? Would they take Saka over Foden? No, they wouldn't, not in a million years. So it's not even as if Southgate is playing a formation that is completely alien to what Foden does. There are two positions there that Foden could fill.
Yeah, and then
Saka or Sterling.
But then Mason Mount then is the player that Southgate loves, because he is the kind of obedient.
Yeah, but you can still have Rice and another, say it's Bellingham, and Mount in front of them if that's the way he's going to do it, if he's feeling adventurous. And you still have room to take out Sterling or Saka. So I genuinely am perplexed. Now I'm oversimplifying it, but it is, now that you've got me on the Foden train here.
We've gone on the Foden.
It is very odd. The simple question is, would Pep Guardiola swap Phil Foden for Sterling or Saka? No. Southgate would.
Well, yeah, I think I would have Saka in the team as well.
Same. And then Sterling's very good for England, and makes wonderful runs, and is still a very good player. But he's not Phil Foden.
No, he's not, but that comes back to the point. Why are we this is the thing that is more interesting about the film. Why is he the subject of this discussion when he shouldn't be? Foden should be like Harry Kane in this England squad. That's the thing that's interesting about Phil Foden, and why. And why this kind of screeching about it is kind of strange, isn't strange, but it's kind of like this is what we do as a player. We should be demanding the inclusion of, but actually the fact that he isn't just it's a kind of an everyday member of the England team, of the first 11, is the curious thing, and I do feel I take your point. I don't think it's necessarily that Southgate, whatever happens, he's gonna be in trouble unless they win the World Cup. But I think there is a precedent in how he's managed that would give you concern if you're England, in terms of what are they going to do when they reach the knockout stage and need to take that step. Because I do feel Southgate's first instinct will always be deeply cautious.
Yeah, look, unless this is Jimmy Greaves all over again and Southgate is proper genius, perhaps. But even if Southgate puts Foden in the team, I still think there'll be a degree of, you had so many more options, so many players in form, you should have gone more offensive. I think no matter what he does, even if Foden comes into the team, so many English players are in form now, he's goosed. There'll always be a nagging sense there was more in the group.
Well, yeah, and whatever he does with whatever players he picks, he is also responsible for what he tells them to do. Sure. So
he may well be deservedly goosed. I'm just saying he's goosed either way.
I think he's I was thinking at half time. I was thinking he's really goosed here because England are looking. If England don't win this convincingly, because Wales are so bad now, they've a 3-0 win, 6-2 win, and 0-0
against a USA team, which it turns out are probably not too bad at all.
No, they were much better than Iran tonight.
You flicked over to watch more of that game.
Watching. Well, they were both on, and I was just drawn. That game was much more dramatic, because it was only 1-0. There was a bit of jeopardy in it. Yeah. Iran needed a goal. There was 9 minutes of injury time, which is always good.
Standard.
I was getting a bit annoyed there. I felt they were backsliding on the injury time because of ridiculous complaints from people.
We're getting more football. Pulisic with the goal on 38 minutes. I saw Tyler Adams was booked. I was thinking, was there a degree of revenge for the press conference yesterday? I didn't see that booking on 43 minutes. There was. I mean, did the game as the portion of the game that you watched, did it reflect any of the extraordinary backdrop
No,
of the last 48
it
hours?
didn't seem to. No, it was a tough game, but it didn't seem. There was a couple of incidents where actually the players seemed to be on quite good terms with each other. It didn't seem to be they didn't seem to be carried over. They weren't making the same statements that are the Iranian journalists were asking Tyler Adams to make. And,
so what did you make of all that? I don't remember a press conference like it.
Well, I think there was a very obvious point to it. Like, this is the Whataboutery World Cup.
Yeah,
it really is. And they wanted to make the point that they wanted to make a point about the criticism of what's happening in Iran, aided by Queiroz, who is actually a disgrace. He really is a disgrace.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd spend so much time thinking or talking about Carlos Queiroz at the outset of this World Cup.
Yeah,
he's really gone.
Yeah, he has
himself out there on behalf of the Iranian government.
Yeah, and found kind of willing, people willing to take it up and willing to be distracted by the stuff he's been throwing out. Maybe that's people are reporting. He's a coach of Iran. People are going to report it.
Yeah,
but I think the stuff. I thought the USA team handled it pretty well yesterday, and people can ask it. I don't think there's any equivalence between what's going on in Iran and the issues that gun crime in America, which is horrific, and there is something there, but there is not an equivalence between the two.
No.
And it was a kind of an extraordinary attempt to try and make that. And again, as I say, this has been the theme that we might talk about Richard Keys and Andy Gray and Piers Morgan later, but they were, Richard Keys was engaging in some spectacular whataboutery in that interview as well. And I think that was what the Iranian media were trying to do before the game.
State-run media?
I think it's all state. Well, probably mainly, yeah. I don't know, but yeah.
I would have thought so. I just would have thought it was so odd to look at what's going on there. 18,000 arrests, 400 going on, 500 deaths.
Look what's happened to the player. What the players have done. Like, this is the thing, is what the Iranian players have done has been incredible.
Yeah, and even that's a more complicated picture than we had thought, because we had brilliant journalist on from the New York Times who's covered the situation for several years, and this was the Monday or Tuesday after the England game, and we were saying, wow, extraordinary scenes, and what's been the reaction in Iran? And there were stories of the English goals being cheered in cafes all over Iran, and people honking their horns afterwards and screaming six, because they look at the Iranian team, or certain, and again, it's hard to do an opinion poll, but certainly a big portion of people in Iran looked at the football team and saw their non-singing and said, that's fine, that's not nearly enough. You're a disgrace for being out there playing football in the first place. You should have boycotted the World Cup.
Right.
We're thrilled you got beaten.
Yeah.
So even that's a nuanced enough picture, the non-singing, well, what have you done for us lately?
Right.
So there's complication upon complication all over the place.
Yeah, but they're also that's.
But it was still I still think it's a
but it's also
thing for the players.
And
to
they took some great. I think they took some personal risks,
big time,
by doing it.
Journalist we spoke to said as much.
Yeah.
Their families, them personally.
Yeah. So I think that's the thing, and I think that's the thing that is important. Obviously that point that if Iranian people feel that they shouldn't even be there, that's a point that has to be understood and acknowledged. But I don't think it diminishes the risk they've taken and the bravery of the players themselves.
They're oddly it's all at odds a little bit with Carlos Queiroz being very defensive of the country and I guess by extension the regime.
Who pays Carlos Queiroz's wages?
I'm so curious to know what the dynamic is there when they're risking, I guess, their family's safety or maybe their own safety, and Carlos is saying, well, what about gun shooting and things aren't so bad here?
Yeah, no, it was a strange there was a strange gap between the two. But I'm not that surprised.
Yeah. Like I said, I just thought the Iranian journalists, the motivation there was odd. They're that perturbed by US visa policy and the pronunciation of Iran, but seemingly not asking more difficult questions maybe of.
But again, that is the theme. That is how any of these issues, when they've been addressed, that has been the kind of a common way of people responding.
We'll talk about Keys and Gray. They did an interview with Piers Morgan. They're first in 10 years, I think.
I was surprised by that. That was news to me.
Is it like the Des Kelly one that often pops up on YouTube, the last one Richard Keys did? Before we do that, on the day's football, Senegal 2, Ecuador 1, Netherlands 2-0 winners against Qatar. So Netherlands and Senegal, as we said, go through. The other big footballing story, of course, of the day, Ronaldo, as the heartbeat monitor graphic showed, did not get even a scintilla of a hair to the ball. Adidas more than happy to come out and deny Nike icon Ronaldo the goal. So that was the saga of the last 24 hours. Have you ever cared less about a story?
Well, Ronaldo has that ability to make you care about things that you think I really don't care about, only because he seems so invested in it. And then when there was a story that the Portuguese FA were going to be producing evidence to FIFA to demonstrate that he'd scored it, wow. And there was a piece, I think, in The Athletic. Now, obviously, Ronaldo, if he scored that goal, he equaled Eusebio's, I think, World Cup record. Is that?
Right.
And I think there was like he wanted that goal, but the reluctance of any of the players to actually say that he hadn't scored it was quite amusing. And clearly you get an insight into the dynamic there, but it was heartbreaking in the end that it was taken away from him.
We'll take a short break. We will chat some Richard Keys, Andy Gray, Piers Morgan, and a bit more of the football in just one moment.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, proud partner and supporter of the Republic of Ireland women's national football team.
This is News Talk. Future-proof.
When we think of limitless intelligence, we often think of AI and the potential for a supercomputer that can hold
every answer to every question.
But we each own one of these supercomputers already. What are the limits to our brain's capacity? And could our brains ever get full?
Future-proof.
Proudly supported by Science Foundation Ireland.
Find out on this week's Future-proof podcast with me, Jonathan McRae. Listen and subscribe for free in the News Talk app, powered by Go Loud.
When he steps out of the showers, his teammates slag him off.
Are you hiding something from us?
He plays along at first, but then they gather around him, whip his towel off, make videos of him. Those who see he's upset laugh it off, saying,
"We're just having a laugh. Sure, what's the harm?"
It's time for zero tolerance of domestic, sexual and gender-based violence. It has no place in our society. Learn more at gov.ie/zero tolerance, or in an emergency call 999, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Hey, I'm Charlie Murphy. And I'm Ellie Kelly. And we present Home I Drink, which is the Go Loud original podcast. Think of the bathroom of the club on a night out, or the group chat the next morning where you're spilling all the gossip on life, love, relationships, breakups. That's the vibe of our podcast. Exactly. It's like a little safe space for you and us to talk about any dilemmas that you have, be it about friends, college, work, or anything at all. We do always try to help you out. Try being the key word there. As we always say in every episode, we're not Bible. We bring you new episodes every single Wednesday. We've even got a bonus episode then that comes out every Monday called Home I Drink Extra Juice. So make sure to listen to Home I Drink, proudly sponsored by Primark. We've new episodes every Wednesday and you'll find them first on the Go Loud app and all major podcast platforms.
Subscribe to this podcast for free on the Go Loud app.
Does the person you're going out with make you feel anxious or on edge? If it feels wrong, it probably is. Abuse in relationships is more common than you think. Learn about the red flags of abuse and chat to us online at 2intoyou.ie or call the Women's Aid 24-hour national free phone helpline on 1800 341 900. We're here for you. Visit 2intoyou.ie.
We all want to live in a more sustainable world. So let's start by living in more sustainable homes. SSE Airtricity makes it easy with the Generation Green Home Upgrade. Our award-winning one-stop shop initiative partners with experts in insulation, heating, solar, windows and doors to make your home more energy efficient and cost-effective. We do all the hard work for you with end-to-end project management and a streamlined SEAI grant application process. Discover your home's BER rating at sseairtricity.com/home upgrade and see how a Generation Green home upgrade can benefit you. Registered with the SEAI for home energy upgrades. Grants offered are provided by the Government of Ireland through the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland.
Power your way through the working day on Air Business Broadband with seamless connectivity and reliability from just €44.99 a month. Switch today and get €100 off your unlimited fibre broadband bill from Ireland's #1 business broadband provider. For more, visit air.ie/business, go in store or call 1-800-207-407. Air. Let's make possible. Subject to availability. Offers available to new Air Business broadband customers. Pricing excludes VAT. For full terms, see air.ie/business.
Football on off the ball.
With Sky, get more of the sports you love on Sports Extra with BT Sport and Premier Sports.
This is News Talk.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, England and USA go through from Group B to the last 16. England 3-0 winners against Wales. 2 goals from Marcus Rashford, 1 from Phil Foden, both of whom started the game either side of Harry Kane. USA 1-0 winners against Iran. And so it's Netherlands, Senegal, England and USA who are through on day 9 of the World Cup. So I think many of us make Richard Keys' blog appointment reading anytime it arises. Doesn't happen often enough. He should really be doing a daily one. That is the only complaint you could make of it.
Sometimes he goes twice weekly.
Yeah. The good weeks.
Yeah, Monday morning, Monday lunchtime, and then hopefully a bonus.
Piers Morgan has sat down with Ronaldo, Richard Keys and Andy Gray in recent weeks. So it's been a boom time for him. So this kind of, they're sitting down outside somewhere in Qatar and Doha, I presume, and they make the point, this is your first TV interview in a decade. And Piers says, why me? Let's get this off to enough about you, let's talk about me. Why me? And the lads are sitting there and looking very relaxed and say, well, look, we like your style and, you're a bit Marmite, but we like your style. And Keys does say, we've been a tad bruised, as you might imagine, from the whole fallout from 2011. So we withdrew entirely from British media until, I guess, this interview, which I kind of hadn't thought had been the case, but maybe it was. And they add that you were very fair on this World Cup. And then Morgan asks about the legitimate concerns people have about the World Cup, and Andy Gray straight away says, agreed totally. But then they talk about the hypocrisy and we don't remember the same outcry over Russia. Keys says the criticism has been racist. Gray talks about how the country of 2022 bears no resemblance to 10 years ago. And he mentions the kafala system and they're modifying everything and they're trying to move on. Maybe they're doing it too slowly. Morgan asks a very good question then. He says, okay, what would you criticise? And there's a bit of a pause. And Andy Gray says, a few more golf courses. All three find it funny. Yeah. And Keys, to be fair, says all the things you mentioned. Although he says the pace can't be dictated by the West. And then they get into 2011 and their dismissal at Sky. Do you regret what you said? And straight away both say yes, of course. Richard Keys says, in private I questioned whether a female lineswoman would know the offside rule. And he says, I would add though, she made a number of errors in the first half and I insisted we didn't show them. And he then talked about the fallout and having to call her, and she said to him, oh come on, it's just banter. And Keys says this a few times in this interview. He says, now, I'd never heard of the word banter.
He blames, if Sean Massey hadn't used this word...
He comes back to this on several occasions.
He would never have uttered the immortal line, it was just banter.
He can't tweet anything without the replies all being about banter. So he wants to make it clear that was not his word. And he said to Sean Massey, listen, I know it was just banter, as you say, but this is blowing up. I've got to make an official apology. And she said, okay, and he apologised. And then she said, I made a few mistakes in the first half. Thanks for not showing them, is his recollection of the phone call. And then Keys again says, I hate the banter word, but, it was her word. And then the three of them agree that which of us would survive if private conversations were made public. I thought the most sincere and affecting part of the conversation was when they talked about the fallout. And Richard Keys was saying that he just could not get his head around the fallout, the fire. It was incredible couple of weeks. And Andy Gray then talks about feeling suicidal. And he talks about how he had, great life, 17 years as a professional, 20 years on Sky. And he said, if it weren't for his wife, I don't know what I would have done. And he said on one day in particular, he had very specific thoughts. And at that point in the interview, he got emotional. You could see this was very real. I would have said he was close to tears. He was breaking up. And it was genuinely affecting. I mean, to go through something like that, whether you deserve to be sacked or not, is horrific for anyone. And so, he took it very, very badly. And Keys at that point says, me too. You've no idea. Now, he didn't get as emotional.
No.
I think you get the impression, I do anyway, that Gray is maybe a touch more sensitive and has said before that Keys has the backside of a rhinoceros, his phrase of Keys. Morgan then asked him an interesting question. Was it wrong that you lost your job? To which Andy Gray said, well, let me turn it back on you. Do you think it's wrong?
Yeah.
We lost the job. And Piers Morgan says, I feel like it was an overreaction. And he mentioned Karen Brady after the cat kicking business and how second chance had been something she had talked about after the cat kicking, but didn't remember that happening in the case of you two. And he says there was a feeding frenzy. And so on balance, I think Morgan's saying maybe you shouldn't have lost your job. And then the conclusion, before they get into talking about who's going to win the World Cup, again, I thought it was a good question. Like, you're kind of watching this from the interviewer's position sometimes. Morgan turns to them and said, who let you down most in the world of football? It's not a boring question. It's good. It is good. And they won't name names, but plenty did. They won't name names. And then, again, I thought an affecting moment is Andy Gray, a little bit emotional again, talked about being in his kitchen, sieged by press and really in a very bad place. And suddenly, the gate opens at the bottom of the driveway and a motorbike screeches up. And he's thinking, what's going on here? And motorbike, he comes out to the front door. Motorbike comes right up. And it's a neighbour of his, Andy Townsend, who has a spare helmet and says, come on, I'm getting you out of here, hop on the bike. And you can tell Gray's quite affected by the memory, and it meant a lot to him. And Richard Keys says he's still very angry about the whole thing. He carries anger in his back pocket.
There's a little bit of anger.
So I'd say that's a kind of summation of what was not, like, they're an interesting pair, are they not?
They are. It was a kind of disappointing interview in some ways, because I think an awful lot of it we've heard.
Sure.
And, what happened to them isn't really that obviously it's pivotal to their lives, but for the rest of us,
it's been well digested.
Yeah. And we've moved on through
just 11.
Yeah, we've moved on through plenty of media storms since then.
Yeah,
and it is one of those kind of interesting aspects of these phenomena that we consume them all, and then the minute they're done, you can kind of forget what were the I've encountered people who've been in the eye of these storms, and you see them afterwards, and you kind of go, you're trying to jog your memory. What was it that they did, or what was it that happened to them?
I find with these two, this is one of the scandals that's endured vividly.
Well, that's because Keezy writes his blog about it every week. And
there's a bit of that, but I still it was so huge at the time. And even The Athletic did a piece a couple of months ago, like 10 years on, revisited, an oral history of different people involved. It's like the most read thing for...
Right. But you see, it's funny when they say they have nothing to do with the British media. I know, like, Jack Pitt-Brooke did have an interview with Keys a while ago, I think before he went to The Athletic.
Maybe their first broadcast.
Well, maybe it's their broadcast, but they have done a couple of things.
Yeah.
And, but I think for people who follow the Keys blog, and there's a very interesting dynamic between the two of them, and I agree with you about Andy Gray as well. He does seem to be a slightly more sensitive, and even the way he addressed the way he talked about Qatar seemed to be a bit more open to the idea that this was a place that needed to change. Whereas Richard Keys, there's a fantastic moment in the interview when he talks about getting a job offer in Qatar when they got sacked, when he resigned from Sky and Andy Gray, but he didn't want to bring that on Qatar.
Yeah, that was
like they'd just been awarded the World Cup. There was a lot of fuss going on. He didn't say these words, but like it was essentially, I didn't want to bring more pressure on the state of Qatar, the multi-billion, incredibly wealthy oil state of Qatar. Didn't need, Richard Keys arriving over there. I think they probably could have handled it.
Because he does say, so it cost me 2 jobs.
Cost me 2 jobs. But I think, so the interview itself, like you mentioned the Karen Brady thing. When he brought up Karen Brady, I kind of was like, oh, here we go, popcorn.
Yeah.
Because Karen Brady, as anyone who reads the Keys blogs will know, features regularly.
A regular
drive-by.
Yeah.
Is Karen Brady.
Yeah. He went more easy on her there than he did.
He didn't bite on it at all. But so there was nothing, but it is the dynamic of them. And I do find it interesting, little things like, is Richard Keys who makes the official, like he calls Sean Massey, and he makes the official apology on behalf of himself and Andy. Now, why can't Andy Gray pick up the phone?
Yeah, I always wondered that.
Why is he acting? And there seems to be that kind of dynamic where, as you say, maybe it is because Andy Gray is a more sensitive soul. So
though that might lead you to be more inclined to pick up the phone.
Maybe, yeah. But he doesn't. But the Richard Keys is there making. I must now make an official. Like it's all sounds so ridiculous.
Unless
I'm now going to make the official apology.
Yeah.
Sean.
Maybe Andy apologised and didn't feel the need to make it public or official.
Make it official.
No. It was interesting when they were asked as well, would you consider coming back and working in England? Yes, they bloody would, was the subtext of, well, initially I wouldn't, of course. But now, look, maybe enough water under the bridge, ... But I maybe that, that now the Qatar has come and gone in Qatar, they're wondering, how much longer do we stay out here?
Well, that is, because they do have, like, they are the archetypal Doha expats.
67 and 65, maybe they don't want to keep working.
Maybe, but it's it would be interesting to see how. Now they do, they have a pretty big, like their Premier League show, and it is a great gig for them because
But by all accounts, they're watched by more people now than they ever were at Sky. But it's not the people they want watching them.
No, but I think they also have they have an assembly line of people who they can get out to Doha. They have great panels. When you see clips of beIN Sports, they do have great panels.
Robbie Keane is out there.
Robbie Keane is out there. Yeah, I saw that
on Qatar with Ronaldo.
Yeah, and it's it's a great look. I think everybody looks forward to that. The invite out to do some punditry out in Doha. It's right in the sweet spot for ex-footballers. So it's they won't come back to England. They won't be working in, like.
Well, where would they go?
Yeah, there's nowhere they could go, and football has moved on. And like again, that point that when Piers, like when they asked Piers Morgan, do you think they should have lost their jobs? Like when you think back on it, and you think about the amount of there was other videos coming out, there was other stuff coming out. Kind of, it was inevitable.
It was,
like, it really was inevitable.
Because I do remember it so well. Like it was such a storm, and they were such huge names.
Yeah,
I can forget now. And really, I'd say, I know Ed Chamberlain for a time, and Monday Night Football was very celebrated, and Dave Jones is doing the job now. But I don't think like average number of football fans would as readily spotted Dave Jones as they would. Like Richard Keys and Gray were the brand in many respects, because I vividly remember on the Monday or Tuesday after it all broke, maybe it was Wednesday, like Keys was going on TalkSport. The TalkSport interview, 10 o'clock in the morning, a show he subsequently took over with Andy Gray. I can't remember who interviewed him, but they must I'm sure they have their own thoughts on the whole episode. And it was like, I remember being out in the office, like internet radio was a new thing, but apparently I can listen to this even though it's all the way over there.
I remember sitting at, I think I was in Huddersfield about to interview Kevin Kilban when he was at Huddersfield.
Wow.
And I was sitting in the car.
Who'd have thought you'd both have spent so much time in this room post Huddersfield
listening to Richard Keys?
Yeah, but it was like just the biggest.
Yeah, But also, you talk about Dave Jones, you talk about Ed Chamberlain, like the way Sky has evolved. I think they would see, like, and they make the point about, Andy Gray said it about, I had 20 years working for Sky at a company who were revolutionising the coverage of football. Again, I expected Richard Keys to interject and say mainly thanks to us, because that's what he often takes.
That was what was implied.
But that's what but he doesn't usually let it just be implied. Explicitly states it.
Yeah.
But they did do like. If you remember, like Andy Gray as a pundit, and even like the boot room was an amazing when he had an hour. He had Canton on that for an hour once, which was incredible. But Sky has completely evolved, and Sky doesn't have a Richard Keys, Andy Gray dynamic anymore. It has a Carragher Neville dynamic, it has a Souness Keane dynamic. That they are the clips. They are the way they have gone now. They're the things they're looking for, and. They're what they were doing would probably seem now just completely quaint and out of touch.
Yeah, I don't remember, as a final thought, I don't remember arguments or rows being a feature of the Keys and Gray era. Certainly not the way it is now. It was more, because I think the criticism would have been at the time, we get the rows on RTE, you don't get it on.
Yeah, that's true.
There's almost been a reversal of that now, I think, would be
they
on a general point.
No, they had a certain world view, and they just kept to it. So like they were on the side of the football men, and that's the and the two of them would offer a view on that.
That's right.
Keys, Gray's a little bit more of the old pros type, but the two of them would have a view. And
because Keys has written about it even in his blog, like why would we go on with our quote unquote product and tear it down and say something's not good enough? Whereas now I feel Roy Keane will certainly go on and say, well, that's rubbish, or it's a poor game. It's a different viewpoint. And ironically, I think Keys might have been wrong in thinking, well, we can't tear down the product, because actually Roy Keane tearing down the product makes the product 20 times more popular.
Yeah. Well, what Keane does is, if the product is terrible, you've also got another, again, like RTE used to do. You've got another show.
There's another game.
There's another entertainment. Just didn't enjoy the game. Well, we've got some more entertainment for you, Roy Keane and Graham Souness after the break.
Yeah. All very interesting. It's on YouTube if you're so inclined. I know. I suspect a portion of people listening are saying, "Oh my God, why have you been talking about Richard Keys and Andy Gray? What's going on?" But some of us remain fascinated. Did you watch the full Ronaldo interview as a matter of interest?
No, I didn't.
Okay, I didn't either. I still need to find someone who has.
Really, you haven't found anyone?
No. To tell me if it's worth giving up an hour and a half.
Yeah,
twice, I think.
I know, I couldn't. I watched the clips and then I was like,
you're in the majority there. So there we go. Our football show coverage is brought to you by Sky. All the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. We will take a short break.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, proud partner and supporter of the Republic of Ireland women's national football team.
This is News Talk.
Christmas, a time to celebrate family and friends with seasonal get-togethers and thoughtfully chosen gifts. Visit Meadows & Byrne, a guaranteed Irish business member, for inspiring gift ideas, curated interiors and everything you need to host a memorable festive evening. With a distinct style story of its own, Meadows & Byrne offers unique and exclusive choices, all wrapped up in quality and timeless design. So put the G under the tree this Christmas. Visit any one of our 13 stores nationwide or pop online at meadowsandbyrne.com.
Galvin Tullamore, making Christmas special since 1949. Galvin Tullamore.
And 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3.
123ink.ie, miss.
Sorry?
123ink.ie. You know, for all your ink at home or work. They're really good, miss.
Focus, Tara. And 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 123ink.ie. Service without the jigs and the reels.
We're all connected to something. For Audi drivers, it's technology. Even more so now. With a complimentary Audi data plug and installation when you book your next Audi service on audiservice.ie. Get up-to-date vehicle information, optimize your drive, monitor fuel usage, and collect rewards for completing everyday journeys and driving challenges. Upgrade your Audi's connectivity with a complimentary Audi data plug. Book now at audiservice.ie. Terms and conditions apply.
You might feel good you got that Black Friday bargain or small Cyber Monday saving, but feeling really good isn't about getting, it's about giving. Today is Giving Tuesday, a day to support a charity close to your heart and donate some money to help them keep doing the great work they do. Whatever the cause, however much the donation, it all counts. And in return, you'll feel good and make others feel good too. Find out more. Visit givingtuesday.ie. Brought to you by Charities Institute Ireland.
Cute Park app, Cute Park app.